Sophie Cunningham's cuddle demand to Caitlyn Clark fuels Fever reunion buzz. Say what? Yeah.
A quick throwback clip from Sophie Cunningham just turned into one of the most talked about moments around the WNBA. She posted an old video with Caitlyn Clark, and what followed wasn't just fan hype, it was instant league-wide chatter. Clark dropped a short response that felt casual at first, but given the timing, it landed way heavier than people expected. That single comment had Fever fans reading between every line. With the league stuck in frozen free agency, CBA talks dragging on, and expansion drafts creeping closer, nothing feels random anymore.
Indiana Fever fans want nothing more than for their team to bring Sophie Cunningham back in free agency this winter, whenever the WNBA league office and its players agree to a new CBA. Of course, Cunningham isn't the only member of the Indiana 2025 team that fans are clamoring to bring back, as Kelsey Mitchell is just as beloved among the fan base. But while Mitchell might make more of an impact on the court compared to Cunningham, the latter's off-court charisma and star power have endeared her to the Fever fan base to an impressive degree.
Even social media posts are getting treated like chess moves. Sophie jumped back in with a joking reply about cuddling and getting dinner cooked for her a couple nights a week. It sounded playful, but it also reminded everyone how close this group really is.
Tell you what, Matt, the boredom here during timeouts and stuff is hilarious to me. And it's not just here, it's every arena we go in. There's so much fun stuff happening in the environment. How could you not come to a WNBA arena and not feel it?
Chemistry like that matters, especially when roster decisions are about to get ruthless. Now the real debate is heating up. Indiana is going to have to decide who's worth protecting when expansion teams start picking. Keeping Sophie could mean letting go of someone else who brings real value. That's the kind of choice that keeps front offices up at night. What started as a simple flashback suddenly feels like a preview of some tough decisions ahead, and fans know it. Everyone involved was clearly joking. It was normal teammate energy, nothing more than that. But the bigger takeaway isn't the humor, it's the message underneath it. Caitlyn Clark doesn't casually engage like that unless there's real comfort there. And Sophie Cunningham responding the way she did shows she wants to stay part of that group. In this league, public signals like that matter more than people admit. Before breaking down how this affects Indiana's roster decisions, the reaction in the comments needs to be called out. The moment the post went live, some fans immediately tried to turn it into something ugly. One comment even questioned Caitlyn Clark's personal relationship, based solely on friendly banter between teammates. That's where things cross the line. This is the reality around high-profile players right now. Two athletes can joke online, and suddenly people are chasing a storyline that has nothing to do with basketball. Caitlyn Clark is openly in a committed relationship with Connor McCaffrey. Sophie Cunningham is straight. They are friends and teammates interacting on social media. That's all there is to it. Now back to the part that actually impacts the league. Sophie Cunningham has built real star power. In 2024, she ranked as the second most searched female athlete in the United States, across all sports, not just the WNBA. That level of attention brings visibility teams can't ignore. She co-hosts a podcast on the Volume Network with Colin Cowherd, appears frequently across major sports media, and has grown a fan base that reaches far beyond basketball circles. That kind of reach factors into every serious front office conversation. Here's where things really get interesting. Sophie Cunningham only spent one season with Indiana. Just one. And in that short time, she jumped to being one of the most searched female athletes in the entire country. That kind of rise doesn't happen by accident, and it goes way beyond personality or podcast appearances. A huge part of that visibility comes from the stage she's on. Playing next to Caitlyn Clark puts a spotlight on everyone around her.
She was also the only player in the entire league that we sat back and witnessed literally physically defend Caitlyn Clark on the court. Just keeping it real. Watched a lot of other teammates just stand around while Sophie trying to scrap. And for some of us,
Indiana isn't just building a team anymore, They're operating on one of the biggest platforms in women's sports, and that changes how every roster move gets evaluated. Now, the Fever are running straight into a tricky situation because of expansion. With Portland and Toronto joining the league, Indiana has to prepare for an expansion draft that forces teams to expose parts of their roster. Most expansion formats only allow 5 or 6 protected players. No wiggle room. Caitlyn Clark is an automatic protect. Aaliyah Boston is locked in. Lexi Hull is safe. Aaliyah Boston and Alyssa Smith are core pieces as well. That already eats up most of the available slots, leaving maybe 1 or 2 spots for everyone else.
It doesn't necessarily have to choose when it comes to getting Cunningham or Mitchell. Both players have expressed interest in returning. The Fever's front office will have enough money and flexibility to re-sign them, both if they so desire.
That's where the tension starts. Both Kelsey Mitchell and Sophie Cunningham are unrestricted free agents, and both have openly said they want to stay in Indiana. On paper, that sounds like great news. The front office has enough cap flexibility to bring them both back if they choose to. The problem is timing. If Indiana re-signs both players before the expansion draft, they're forced to protect both. That uses up precious slots and leaves other contributors exposed. Every move now has consequences, and there's no clean solution. Now let's walk through the real risk. What happens if Indiana decides not to protect Sophie Cunningham because they don't want to spend one of their limited slots on her? That's where things could go sideways fast. Portland and Toronto aren't easing into the league quietly. They're starting from zero, and that means they need players who can create buzz immediately. Sophie fits that profile perfectly. She's a reliable rotation player, but more importantly, she brings instant name recognition. If she's left exposed in the expansion draft, there's almost no chance she slips through. New teams want players fans already know. Players who can show up on local radio, podcasts, and media hits and actually pull listeners in. Expansion franchises don't have the luxury of waiting years to build relevance. They need faces, voices, and personalities right away. In a league where Caitlyn Clark has just pushed attendance and TV numbers to new levels, visibility matters more than ever. Sophie represents the kind of asset front offices circle early. But there's another layer that doesn't show up on spreadsheets or search rankings. You see it when you watch the games. When Caitlyn Clark took hits last season, when defenders crossed the line, one player consistently stepped into the moment. Sophie didn't back down. She brought edge, toughness, and presence when it mattered. That physical response matters. Every star needs someone willing to absorb contact, set a tone, and let opponents know there's a cost. That role isn't glamorous, but it's critical. Losing a player like that isn't just a marketing hit, it changes the team's identity on the floor. Sophie Cunningham brought something to the floor that no box score can explain. When Caitlyn Clark got pushed, knocked down, or tested, Sophie was the one who stepped forward. Not later in interviews, not with comments online, but right there in the moment. That kind of response sets a tone for a team, and it shapes locker room trust in ways numbers never show. Indiana had players who posted stronger stat lines last season, but none matched that specific edge. There wasn't another player who consistently showed the same willingness to physically stand up for the franchise star when games got chippy. In a league where Caitlyn Clark is going to keep drawing extra attention from defenders, having someone ready to step in carries real value. Kelsey Mitchell has to be part of this conversation. She's averaged around 17 points per game and has been Indiana's most reliable scorer for years. From a pure basketball perspective, she's the safer choice. If decisions were only about points and efficiency, this wouldn't even be a debate. The issue is that Indiana might not be able to protect both unrestricted free agents. If it comes down to choosing one, the basketball logic and the bigger picture may not line up. Mitchell is the stronger on-court producer, but losing Cunningham could hurt in ways that are harder to replace. Sophie brings media attention, fan connection, defensive toughness, and a natural chemistry with the face of the franchise. Those traits don't come easy in free agency or the draft. That's why the Instagram moment mattered. It wasn't random. Caitlyn Clark didn't just joke around, she sent a message. When a generational player publicly signals she wants a specific teammate back, that deserves attention. Not just to keep her comfortable, but because she's pointing out a fit that might not be obvious from spreadsheets or scouting reports. When you look past the stat lines, Sophie Cunningham's impact becomes a lot clearer. Last season, Indiana didn't just improve, they flipped their entire identity. A team that lived in the lottery suddenly found itself in the playoff mix. Caitlyn Clark's arrival played a huge role. Aaliyah Boston taking another step mattered too. But veterans like Cunningham helped stabilize everything around them. Sophie knew exactly how to fit next to a ball-dominant guard. She didn't need the spotlight or constant touches to feel involved. She focused on the details that don't trend online. She took charges, spaced the floor, knocked down open shots, and brought physical defense every time she checked in. Her energy off the bench changed the tempo of games. Those are the traits teams look for when building around a young star who controls the offense. Sophie didn't ask for plays to be drawn up for her. She didn't push back on her role. She handled the gritty work that winning teams rely on and let the stars shine. Timing is another piece of this puzzle. Free agency can't officially open until the CBA is finalized, and those negotiations are still stuck over revenue sharing and salary cap structure. There's no clear timeline. It could wrap up quickly or drag on longer than expected. Once it does get resolved, everything will move fast. Free agency will be rushed, and expansion draft prep will hit immediately after. Indiana doesn't get time to sit back and read the market. They have to decide now who they value most and who they're willing to expose. That's why the social media moment matters. It pulled this conversation into the open and made it harder for the front office to ignore what their franchise player is signaling. There's another scenario that doesn't get nearly enough attention. What if Sophie Cunningham ends up in Portland or Toronto and actually takes off as a face of a new franchise? She's 28, right in the middle of her prime, and she's already proven she can draw attention beyond the court. Put her in a featured role where the spotlight is hers, and it's easy to see her becoming a breakout figure. She might not turn into an all-WNBA first-team type player, but that's not the only measure of impact. Expansion teams care about connection. They need players fans recognize, players who sell jerseys, bring energy to the building, and give a city someone to rally around. Sophie checks those boxes in a way few available players do. If Indiana lets her walk for nothing or loses her in the expansion draft without protection, that's an asset gone with no return. That kind of decision can linger, especially if she thrives elsewhere and becomes a centerpiece in a new market. The pushback to this argument is simple and fair. The Fever can't run their roster based on feelings or online engagement. Winning still matters. Kelsey Mitchell is the stronger scorer. Lexi Hall showed real growth last season. Nalissa Smith was drafted second overall for a reason. If protecting Sophie means exposing one of those players, the basketball logic gets uncomfortable. But modern sports don't operate in a vacuum anymore. The gap between on-court value and entertainment value has narrowed. The WNBA just locked in a media deal worth around $200 million annually, a massive jump from the previous number. That leap didn't come from postseason drama alone. It came from unprecedented attention driven by Caitlyn Clark. The league is finally being valued for how many eyes it attracts. In that landscape, a player like Sophie Cunningham carries weight that traditional stats don't fully capture. Sophie Cunningham might not carry an all-star label, but she's a name casual fans actually recognize. She's someone people tune in to watch, and that matters in today's league. That's why Indiana is stuck in a spot every front office hates. There are multiple paths forward, and none of them are clean. One option is to bring back both Kelsey Mitchell and Sophie Cunningham, protect them in the expansion draft, and accept the risk of losing another contributor. Another route is to focus on Mitchell, let Sophie hit free agency, and hope the market breaks in Indiana's favor. There's also the bold move of prioritizing Sophie because of her off-court reach and her on-court fit with Caitlyn Clark, even if that forces a tough call somewhere else on the roster. What's clear is where the players stand. Caitlyn Clark has made it known she wants Sophie back. The fan base has been loud about it. Sophie herself has shown interest in staying. The uncertainty sits with the front office and how they weigh what she brings versus what they might give up. If Indiana chooses not to protect her and she lands in Portland or Toronto and quickly becomes a fan favorite, that decision won't fade quietly. That's the kind of move that gets replayed for years, especially when the franchise star publicly signaled her preference. This isn't just a roster tweak. It's a choice that could shape Indiana's offseason and influence how the team is viewed moving forward. Sophie and Caitlyn want to run it back. The challenge is figuring out how to make that happen without opening another hole through expansion. This entire situation comes down to one thing. Indiana isn't just deciding between players. They're deciding what kind of franchise they want to be in this new era of the WNBA. The league is changing fast, and teams that don't adapt are going to fall behind just as quickly. Caitlyn Clark is the center of everything Indiana does now. Every roster move, every protection slot, every risk has to be measured against building the right environment around her. Sophie Cunningham isn't perfect, and she's not an all-star, but she brings toughness, visibility, chemistry, and a willingness to do the uncomfortable work that stars don't have to do. If the Fever find a way to keep her without gutting the rest of the roster, it sends a message that they understand the balance between winning games and building something sustainable. If they let her walk or leave her exposed and she thrives elsewhere, that decision will follow this front office for years. This isn't just about one expansion draft or one offseason. It's about whether Indiana recognizes the moment they're in and acts accordingly. The next few moves will tell us everything about how seriously they're taking that responsibility. For more deep dives, roster breakdowns, and the stories shaping the league behind the scenes, keep it locked to Courtside Leaks. We've got every angle covered, every leak, every backstage twist, every moment they won't show you. Hit like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share this video. Stay locked in with Courtside Leaks, your home for the truth behind the WNBA headlines.